Well, good morning. This is Chair Reen Moran. Pursuant to House Rule 10.01, I call this remote meeting of the House Ways and Means Committee to order. Ms. Sparkman, please take the roll.
Chair Moran.
Present.
Moran, present. Vice Chair Olson.
Present.
Olson, present. Representative Garofalo.
Present.
Garofalo, present. Representative Albright, excused. Representative Becker-Finn.
Present.
Becker-Finn, present. Representative Bernardi. Representative Bernardi. Representative Eklund.
Present.
Eklund, present. Representative Hansen.
Present.
Hansen, present. Representative Hassan.
Hassan, present.
Hassan, present. Representative Hertas.
Hertas, present.
Hertas, present. Representative Hornstein.
Present.
Hornstein, present. Representative Johnson.
Present.
Johnson, present. Representative Kresha. Representative Kresha. Representative Liebling.
Present.
Liebling, present. Representative Lilly. Representative Lilly. Representative Mariani. Representative Mariani. Representative Marquardt.
Marquardt, present.
Marquardt, present. Representative Miller.
Miller, present.
Miller, present. Representative Nash.
Nash, present.
Nash, present. Representative Nelson.
Nelson, present.
Nelson, present. Representative Noor.
Noor, present.
Noor, present. Representative O'Neill.
O'Neill, present.
O'Neill, present. Representative Pelowski.
Pelowski, present.
Pelowski, present. Representative Petersburg.
Petersburg, present.
Petersburg, present. Representative Pinto.
Pinto, present.
Pinto, present. Representative Schumacher.
Schumacher, present.
Schumacher, present. Representative Schultz.
Schultz, present.
Schultz, present. Representative Scott.
Present.
Scott, present. Representative Sundin.
Present.
Sundin, present. Representative Bernardi.
Present.
Bernardi, present. Representative Kresha. Representative Lilly. Representative Mariani.
Good morning, everyone.
Mariani, present. That concludes the roll. There is a quorum present.
Great. A quorum is present. So our first agenda item is approval of the minutes from our hearing on Wednesday, April the 14th. The minutes were included in the hearing documents emailed to you by committee staff. Are there any questions or corrections to the minutes? If not, Vice Chair Olson, would you entertain a motion to approve?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Vice Chair Olson move approval of the minutes for April the 14th. Please unmute briefly for a voice vote. All in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
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 All opposed? The motion prevails and the minutes are approved. Well, members, today is our last day of putting together budget bills. We will need to recess again at 10:30, and we will reconvene at the call of the chair this afternoon to finish our agenda. Most likely, it would be around 1 o'clock. Staff will provide updates on the timing, but keep that open. So our first bill before us is House File 707. Before we start working on our omnibus bill, we're going to hear House File 707, and we're going to move it out to the floor. This bill can also be found in the Public Safety Omnibus. Representative O'Neill, as the second author of the legislation, would you like to move the bill? Representative O'Neill, as the second author.
Yes, Madam Chair.
So we have the bill before us. Representative Moller, welcome to the committee. Please tell us about your bill, and then we will move to the amendments.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. So House File 707 is the product of dozens of survivors, practitioners, and others who came together in the legislatively created working group over the past 2 years to determine how our sexual assault statutes can better achieve justice for survivors. This bill had been moving along in various House committees, but received a lot more attention after the Minnesota Supreme Court's Khalil decision in March, telling us what survivors and practitioners already knew, that our law does not adequately provide protections for survivors who were voluntarily intoxicated. This bill closes that loophole and makes several other changes that the working group recommended to ensure that survivors receive justice and offenders held accountable. I know that many of you have signed on to the bill and its various clones. It has wide bipartisan support. It is moving in the other body as part of their, in their omnibus bill. You do have the fiscal note for the biennium, and just so you know that the costs are covered in the judiciary omnibus bill for the additional judge unit and in the public safety bill for the other costs associated. And I'd be glad to answer questions, and just want to thank my colleague, Representative O'Neill, for all her work on this as well.
Well, thank you, Representative Moller. Representative O'Neill, would you like to move the A6 amendment for the author?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move the A6.
Okay, thank you. So members, can I have an explanation of the amendment from Representative Moller?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd be glad to do that. So members, the amendment does really two things. First, it has some technical changes to the language that we found after the time the bill was engrossed. You can see those are mostly on page 4. But the other thing that the amendment does is match up with the language in the other body. These were changes that they made. They have stakeholder agreement, and we just want to get the bills as closely aligned as possible. These changes are also going to be proposed to this bill's language in the public safety omnibus bill.
Great. So members, are there any questions on the amendment? I don't have my box open, so I'm hoping not. But if not, Representative O'Neill renews her motion to adopt the A6 amendment. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. Members, are there any questions or discussion to the bill as amended?
Madam Chair, this is Miller. I do have something. I don't know if you can see my hand, so I'll just speak.
I'm opening. Yes, Representative Miller, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Moller and Representative O'Neill, thank you very much for this. And thank you, Chair Mariani, for helping us go through this. When I was on public safety a couple of years ago, right towards the end of session, it was even later in the game than this, we had another hearing in public safety, and some issues came up, and talking to Representative Moller, she and I actually sat at the testifier table together and basically said something needs to be done here. Please let us do this. And that's kind of what started this working group, I believe. And so I'm proud and honored to see the work that's been done by this working group. The only thing that I will say, members, while I have this opportunity, and I think the members who put this bill together would agree with us, there's more work to be done in this area. We have a state that cares for people. I do believe that. I know that's being questioned and shaken a little bit right now in different areas, but we do. And we certainly believe uniformly that people that are treated poorly or even criminally when it comes to sexual offenses, that we want to protect them, that we want to honor them, and we want to be able to have them live as full lives as possible moving forward. Our system doesn't help with that right now. We have more work to do. There are issues that I'm dealing with, particularly when it comes to sexual assault to children in my area. I've got 3 different stories of where the system is failing right now. So I do think this bill, I don't want to take away from the moment of this, because this is a big deal. People involved in this know how hard this is to even get little changes, and you guys made some pretty amazing, great changes in this. And so I want to take a moment and say thank you for that. This is a great moment, but members, we also have more work to do. So thank you.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Representative Moller, for this bill and the work. And this hasn't been easy, and it's been in process, I'd say, for years. Sexual assault advocates have been voicing these concerns for many years. And you did the exact right thing as we collectively as a legislature decided to do this very intensive working group. And so one thing that, you know, they were tasked with trying to rewrite the entire chapter, which is a big undertaking, but they also did other spin-off things. And one of those is in the bill, Representative Moller, and it does have a fiscal impact. So I'm just wondering if you could just speak ever so briefly and the fiscal impact and what the intent of that working group would be.
Representative Moller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the question, Representative O'Neill. So you're talking, I believe, about the Predatory Offender Registration Working Group. And one of the things that the Sexual Assault Working Group recommended was this, because as they were talking about various changes that needed to be made, they were recognizing this need to reform our predatory offender registration. I believe it has been like 3 decades since it was really looked at. And people like Patty Wetterling came and explained that she thought that this also needed to be reformed. And that was outside of the scope of what we had instructed our working group to look at, but it came up over and over again. And so I wanted to make sure that we included it. It's very essential to the entire all stakeholder agreement to this bill. There were folks who wouldn't agree to this bill, but for the inclusion of that. And I believe right now the cost it is housed in the Department of Public Safety. And I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but it is discussed in the updated fiscal note.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If memory serves me correct, I believe it was 144,000, something like that. But it is all in, you know, it's not part of the standalone bill per se. We have it contained within, well, it will be one omnibus bill once we put the 2 bills together, but all of the costs are already contained within those omnibus bills. And so I'm really excited to be able to move this bill forward as a standalone. And just to really show victims that we are listening, we've been listening, we care. There's so much more than just the Minnesota Supreme Court ruling about mentally incapacitated that is wrong with our statutes. And this goes a long way to address many of those issues. So again, thank you, Representative Moller, and thank you for explaining that part, because that is a fiscal component also to the bill that maybe others have. I just want to bring that to light because there's more work to do and maybe others hadn't seen it just yet. So I think that that also is equally important. I think what's important about the predatory offender list is that you actually have people on there that need to be on there, that are at risk in the community, and that they need more monitoring. And so right now it's pretty cumbersome with so many people, and it's hard to know, do they really need to be on it or not? And so I think that'll be an issue, and hopefully that will be answered in the next working group. And I look forward to hearing that report, hopefully in a couple of years from now.
All right, thank you. Is there any further discussion to the bill? Well, I would like to thank Representative Moller and Representative O'Neill for their bipartisan work on this really important legislation. So there being no further discussion, Representative O'Neill renews her motion that House File 707 as amended be recommended for placement on the General Register. Ms. Sparkman, please take the roll.
Chair Moran.
Aye.
Moran, aye. Vice Chair Olson.
Aye.
Olson, aye. Representative Garofalo.
Yes.
Garofalo, aye. Representative Albright, excused. Representative Becker-Finn.
Aye.
Becker-Finn, aye. Representative Bernardi.
Aye.
Bernardi, aye. Representative Eklund.
Aye.
Eklund, aye. Representative Hansen. Representative Hansen. Representative Hassan.
Hassan, aye.
Hassan, aye. Representative Hertas.
Hertas, aye.
Hertas, aye. Representative Hornstein.
Aye.
Hornstein, aye. Representative Johnson.
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Representative Krisha.
Krisha, aye.
Kresha, aye. Representative Liebling,
Aye.
Liebling, aye. Representative Lilly, excused. Representative Mariani,
Mariani, aye.
Mariani, aye. Representative Marquardt,
Marquardt, aye.
Marquardt, aye. Representative Miller,
Miller, aye.
Miller, aye. Representative Nash,
Nash, aye.
Nash, aye. Representative Nelson,
Nelson, aye.
Nelson, aye. Representative Noor,
Noor, aye.
Noor, aye. Representative O'Neill,
O'Neill, aye.
O'Neill, aye. Representative Pelowski,
Pelowski, aye.
Pelowski, aye. Representative Petersburg,
Petersburg, aye.
Petersburg, aye. Representative Pinto,
Pinto, aye.
Pinto, aye. Representative Schumacher,
Schumacher, aye.
Schumacher, aye. Representative Schultz,
Schultz, aye.
Schultz, aye. Representative Scott,
Aye.
Scott, aye. Representative Sundin,
Aye.
Sundin, aye. Representative Hansen,
Here, aye.
Hansen, aye. 27 ayes and 0 nays.
There being 27 ayes and 0 nays, the motion prevails. House File 707, as amended, is recommended for placement on the general register. Thank you, Representative Moller. All right, so we're going to move on, members. The next 3 bills on the agenda will all be combined into our public safety and judiciary omnibus, using House File 1078 as the vehicle. We will start with House File 38, which replenishes the Disaster Assistance Contingency Account. Chair Pelowski, would you like to move your bill for consideration by the committee and tell us about it?
Madam Chair, I move the bill. House File 38 is a bill that we have had in prior sessions, both in 2019, 2020. The language is virtually identical. It would replenish the account. The account is now down to 3.2 million. It appears that we got lucky this spring and we did not have any disasters, at least of yet. But that doesn't mean we won't into the summer and into the fall. So, Madam Chair, the bill is what it has always been, and I'll stand for questions.
All right, thank you, Chair Pelowski. So there are no amendments filed for this bill. Members, any questions for Chair Pelowski? Okay. There have been no further discussion to the bill. I want to thank Chair Pelowski for bringing the bill forward and would like to just offer you the last words.
Madam Chair, I believe Representative O'Neill has her hand.
I see it. Okay, Representative O'Neill.
My apologies. Sometimes it takes a second to push a button. No, I just wanted to say that I thought this was a really good bill, and I would hope that we'd have a all yes vote on this because it's really, really important. It's something that was put into place not too many years ago, and the fund absolutely needs to be replenished. It's just vital for the operations and what we're doing here for public safety in Minnesota. And so I thank Representative Pelowski for bringing it forward, and I'll be a yes vote on this.
Thank you, Representative O'Neill. To Representative Pelowski, last words.
Madam Chair, thank you, members, and let's move on to the next bill.
All right. So there have been no further discussion. The chair will lay over House File 38. So next on the agenda is House File 1030, the Judiciary and Civil Law Budget. Chair Becker-Finn, would you like to move and present your bill before we go to amendments?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would move my bill. And do you want me to go right into the introduction of the bill?
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I am proud to share our House Judiciary Finance and Civil Law Omnibus Bill. Our bill funds the courts, civil legal services, public defenders, the Guardian Ad Litem Board, and the Department of Human Rights. At the heart of this bill is improving access to justice for all Minnesotans. This bill does that by improving access to legal counsel and our court systems, expanding protections from discrimination, and making steps towards decriminalizing poverty. My guiding principle was looking at who was impacted and how many people would be impacted by any given provision. Our focus was on doing the most good with the target that we had. I will have our fiscal analyst walk through the spreadsheet in a minute, but I did want to highlight a few things first. In addition to funding the core operations in those accounts, we fund a couple of game changers as well. Included in this bill is the reform of civil asset forfeiture. Representative Moller bill reducing the impact of fines and fees on those who are financially unable to pay them, or Representative Frazier bill. The relevant provisions to carry out House File 707 that we just passed on to the General Register regarding criminal sexual conduct. And we finally increased the rate of pay for court interpreters, which has not been done substantially in over 20 years. It was also a conscious decision on my part not to increase court fees as a way of paying for any of these things. At this point, I will ask our fiscal analyst to walk through the spreadsheet top lines, and then Madam Chair, if you could get it back to me, I'd like to highlight some of the policy provisions included as well.
Okay, thank you, Chair Becker-Finn. So can we have the fiscal staff walk through the spreadsheet for us?
Madam Chair, do you wish me to share the screen with the spreadsheet?
Yes, it's up. Mr. McCall has put it up for us.
Okay. Madam Chair, just beginning at the top of page 1 in the Supreme Court, I'm going to compare many things that we're doing to the governor's request. And in the Supreme Court on line 6, we had a slight reduction from the governor's request for online court records access. And on line 7, a slight reduction in cybersecurity infrastructure increase that the governor had requested, but we do fund the full $1 million of his request for courthouse security grants. On line 17, for increased services for civil legal services, we funded the governor's full request and had some additional dollars to increase the tails even further than the governor, so they'll have a little more ongoing money than they had requested. In the court, on line 26, the Court of Appeals, we funded the governor's request to maintain court justice operations. So we are the same as the governor's request for Court of Appeals. And in district courts, we funded the governor's request. However, we also included some money on line 38 for increased interpreter pay. And on line 707, or on line 39, we included some funding for a bill we heard previously in this hearing, House File 707, criminal sexual conduct. That pays for an additional judge unit to handle cases that will increase due to the provisions in that bill. Madam Chair, let's see. Scrolling down to the Guardian ad litem, we add the governor's request to maintain their operations, and that adds $1 million to their budget for this biennium. Madam Chair, moving to the next page. In the tax court, we fund the governor's request, which gives them an additional $52,000 for the biennium. In the Uniform Laws Commission, we are the same as the governor, which includes $4,000 for increased travel expenses. On line 73, we have the Board of Judicial Standards, and we provided money for the governor's request to restore staffing level and services. This is 1/2 of an FTE and is an additional $148,000 for the biennium. Moving down to line 80, the Public Defense Board, we funded their request to maintain services. There's a technical change on lines 84 and 85 that just changes the way they do some payment distribution internally. And on line 86, we include some funding for House File 833, post-conviction relief. And this is to hire temporary staff for a caseload backlog, and that's $187,000 in fiscal year 22. Madam Chair, moving down to line 91, the Department of Human Rights. The House provisions are slightly different from the governor's. The governor had asked for $533,000 on line 96 to prohibit racial discrimination, and on line 97, some additional staff, $991,000 for the biennium. The House combines those two, but also includes some bias data that should be compiled by the agency, and lumps those three provisions into one and provides $695,000 for those three purposes. On line 102, the Office of the State Auditor, there is some money for them to do some reviews of forfeiture data, and that is from House File 75, Forfeiture Reform. That's $94,000 for the biennium on line 103, and that takes us to the next page. Madam Chair, on line 107, the Department of Public Safety, forfeiture reform from House File 75, they required an additional $24,000 on a one-time basis. Madam Chair, there are some general fund revenue items on line 112, House File 441, certificates of compliance, that brings in $2,000 of revenue every year. On line 113, House File 306, the criminal traffic surcharge waiver. This allows the courts to waive the criminal traffic surcharge for the indigent. That is a $75 fee that can now be waived for people in poverty. That does not go into effect until the second year of the biennium. It is a loss of revenue to the general fund of $889,000 in fiscal year 2023. On line 114, House File 75, forfeiture reform, there's some loss of revenue. I believe that's due to some case filings. And on line 115, House File 2257, the Ramsey County fine collection, there's a loss to the general fund of $173,000 per year. Madam Chair, this would put Ramsey County on the same footing as the way Hennepin County is treated, and the portion of revenue they get to collect when fines or fees are imposed in the courts. And Madam Chair, that takes us to the total spending on line 118. The bill spends $1,086,424,000 in the biennium. On lines 122 and 123, there are two additional revenue items, but they do not impact the general fund. Is human rights workforce equal pay fees is $73,000 in revenue. And on line 123, the criminal traffic surcharge waiver that I mentioned previously, there's a slight loss of $7,000 for the biennium to the Game and Fish Fund. And Madam Chair, that completes the walkthrough of the spreadsheet.
Thank you for the thorough walkthrough. All right, Chair Becker-Finn, would you like to complete your presentation on the bill in the policy portion?
Yep, thank you very much, Madam Chair. So moving on to the policy included, I do want to note that it would have been my preference to pass more of these as standalones, but up to now, the Senate has not shared that desire. In particular, Article 6 includes policy related to data practices that we also included in a mini omnibus, which is currently parked here in this committee, but I remain hopeful that we may be able to move that as a separate item in the coming weeks. Other important policy provisions, first, in increasing access to justice, we include requirement for court-appointed counsel in child protection cases when a parent cannot afford a private attorney and is facing termination of their parental rights. We also included extending post-conviction relief for immigrants who were previously given inadequate counsel or bad advice. Further protections for victims of violent crime include updating the Safe at Home confidential address program, as well as timely processing of U visa certifications for victims of crime. In the area of addressing discrimination, we end discrimination against people with disabilities who seek organ transplants, improve the handling and reporting of crimes motivated by bias, prevent pay discrimination, which is a bill that we've already passed off the House floor, and then finally ending housing discrimination based on a person's source of income. That is the bill, Madam Chair, but I do want to close by acknowledging that our state has never truly upheld our duty to adequately provide public defense to our citizens. This is a constitutional requirement that we do have, yet we treat the public defender budget like any other line item in the budget. There are very few things we are absolutely constitutionally required to fund, and this is one of them. This is one of those things where I'm just going to keep saying it until we get to the place where we're finally adequately funding them. Again, this bill is focused on justice and equity and will positively impact the lives of many, many Minnesotans. With that, I am happy to take questions, Madam Chair.
All right. I do see we have a few hands up. What I would like to do is go through the amendments and get the bill in the proper forms with the amendments, and then we'll go to the questions. So thank you, Chair Becker-Finn. You do have two authors amendment that you filed. Would you like to start by moving the A12, which I believe is your technical amendment?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would move the A12 amendment. It is a very technical. We're just changing the word act to article, and we caught that the U visa provisions were included twice in the bill, so we're just deleting one of those sections since we didn't need it in there twice.
Good. Members, are there any questions on the amendment? If not, Chair Becker-Finn.
Yes, Madam Chair. Oh,
yes.
Sorry. I just, because those hands are already up, I just am not able to distinguish if any of them would also want to speak to this amendment.
Yeah. I know they were up before the amendment. So can someone verbally say whether or not you would like to speak to the amendment if you'd like to?
My comments, Madam Chair, this is Representative Scott, are not to the amendment.
Okay. Being that Chair Becker-Finn renews her motion to adopt the A12 amendments. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. Chair Becker-Finn, would you also like to move and describe your A11 amendment?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The A11 amendment is regarding statutes of limitations on cases brought when a peace officer, there's an alleged sexual assault or wrongful death caused by a peace officer. This is essentially House File 717, which is currently on the General Register and is very similar to provisions that were in the mix last summer while we were discussing the police accountability bills. I do want to just clarify that in most of these cases, this is about civil suits, not criminal suits. Civil suits must be brought within 6 years of the incident. This would eliminate the statute of limitations just for the ability to file the case. It doesn't change, the burden of proof or any other proof that someone would need to make. It just allows the families of those impacted or the victims from filing a suit. Often one of the issues that happens is that when there is a criminal case going on, the family may not have access to those records and evidence, and they sometimes can be time barred from bringing these suits. So that is the A11 amendment.
Okay. Is any questions or comments on the amendment?
Madam Chair.
Representative Scott.
Thank you. And I'll keep my hand raised too after this because I'll have comments following. But I have concerns about this amendment. To have no statute of limitations on something like this, I mean, people's memories fade. People die and retire, and witnesses, you can lose track of them. And so, if you want to make the 6 longer than 6, I understand that, but to just have it be indefinite, I don't think is good policy. And so I would encourage members to vote against this amendment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the amendment? Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I don't know if Representative O'Neill and Representative Nash had their hands raised. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, they're to the bill, I believe. They've been there since the spreadsheets.
Okay. Madam Chair, I, like Representative Scott, I view the A11 amendment problematic. I'll be voting no, and I would request a roll call on the A11 amendment.
Okay. Any further questions to the amendment or comments? So Chair Becker-Finn renews a motion to adopt the A11 amendment. All those in favor say, I'm sorry, this is a roll call. So Ms. Sparkman, please take the roll.
Chair Moran.
Aye.
Moran, aye. Vice Chair Olson.
Aye.
Olson, aye. Representative Garofalo.
No.
Garofalo, no. Representative Albright, excused. Representative Becker-Finn.
Aye.
Becker-Finn, aye. Representative Bernardi.
Aye.
Bernardi, aye. Representative Eklund.
Aye.
Eklund, aye. Representative Hansen.
Aye.
Hansen, aye. Representative Hassan.
An aye.
Hassan, aye. Representative Hertas.
Virtuos, no.
Hertas, no. Representative Hornstein.
Aye.
Hornstein, aye. Representative Johnson.
No.
Johnson, no. Representative Kresha.
Risha, no.
Kresha, no. Representative Liebling.
Aye.
Liebling, aye. Representative Lilly. Representative Lilly. Representative Mariani.
Mariani, aye.
Mariani, aye. Representative Marquardt.
Markort, aye.
Marquardt, aye. Representative Miller.
Miller, no.
Miller, no. Representative Nash.
Nash, no.
Nash, no. Representative Nelson.
Nelson, aye.
Nelson, aye. Representative Noor.
Noor, aye.
Noor, aye. Representative O'Neill.
O'Neill, no.
O'Neill, no. Representative Pelowski.
Pelowski, aye.
Pelowski, aye. Representative Petersburg.
Petersburg, no.
Petersburg, no. Representative Pinto.
Pinto, aye.
Pinto, aye. Representative Schumacher.
Schumacher, no.
Schumacher, no. Representative Schultz.
Schultz, aye.
Schultz, aye. Representative Scott.
No.
Scott, no. Representative Sundin.
Aye.
Sundin, aye. Representative Lilly.
Pass.
Lilly, pass. 17 ayes and 10 nays.
There have been 17 ayes and 10 nays. The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. So with that, the bill is in the proper form with the amendments. We will now go to questions from members. Representative Scott.
Madam Chair, would I be able to go last, please?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a couple of quick questions. Chair Becker-Finn, you talked briefly about the public defenders, and that's something that I have been concerned about in my 9 years here at the legislature, that they're not properly funded. And I believe I heard Mr. Walls talk about that it's just sort of status quo, just kind of holding them harmless. But it doesn't sound like we're increasing the budget there to actually hire some new public defenders. Can you just speak to that? And then I also wanted to know about treatment courts. And I know it's also been a great concern of mine. And I actually serve on an advisory board here in Wright County for the drug court here. And I know what their budget is. And when I was on judiciary last biennium, I actually brought that treatment court in front of judiciary to demonstrate how much it actually costs to run a treatment court. And I believe that the appropriation was about 1/3 of what they actually needed at that time. And that was when they were transitioning from federal to the state, because they start with kind of federal dollars and they transition. So I'm wondering if you could speak to those two things and how are we adequately funding either or both?
Chair Becker-Finn.
Thank you for the question. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the question, Representative O'Neill. I do want to clarify, we did have a pretty significant increase for the public defenders. Is the walkthrough, if you look on the the second column over, so the current public defense is 197, and we are pushing it up to 222. So there was an increase. It's the same as what the governor's request is. So in that way, it's the same, but there is an increase there for the public defenders. And I think, we have to keep moving in that direction. So I totally agree with you there. am, more than willing to continue to work on that as we move forward. As far as the treatment court specifically, we didn't have a request for more money specifically for that, either from members or the judicial branch, but we're funding the courts and what they asked for overall, but I can't really speak to exactly how they would proportion that out for treatment courts. But I would also share your support for treatment courts and how effective they can be, and is really a model that can be a lot better holistically for both the people who are attending those treatment courts, but also their families and entire communities. So I also thank you for that work on that, and more than willing to work with you in the future on treatment courts.
Representative O'Neill.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chair Becker-Finn. I'd love to work on that. And had I been sitting on the Judiciary Committee, which of course I'm on less committees now than I've ever been, I think because of COVID, and it's a challenge for me because I like to influence policy all over the place. And that was one place I just didn't, have time to spread myself thin there, but it's absolutely important. I'm pretty sure that maybe the courts are listening right now, and it would be something I think that's really important that the courts would come in and tell us exactly what they're going to be sending on to the treatment courts, because I know that some of these treatment courts are really struggling and they're trying to kind of pull things together and pulling different departments together. It is something that actually does really, really work, and it keeps people on the right path, and I've seen it work miracles. So anything we can do to bolster that. And also, I'm sure everyone on this committee probably has gotten an email from a public defender that just laid out the amount of hours that are required for them to do the bare minimum. And if they work 24 hours a day, 365 days a week, they wouldn't have enough time to even do what's required when you talk about analyzing data and analyzing videos and all of this information that comes to them that they have to review. So I'm not sure how to get at that bigger problem, but I mean, I appreciate the fact that we're funding a few more, but that definitely needs some reform. I'm not sure how we get to that, but that's a huge issue. Chair Becker-Finn, I was gonna call you Representative. Chair Becker-Finn, I would love to work with you on both of those issues and make sure that we are properly funding, because to me, there is no greater right than the right to a defense. It's incredibly important to me. Our civil rights are incredibly important to me. And so I'd love to work with you moving forward. But thanks for those quick answers, Chair Becker-Finn.
Okay, Representative Nash.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Becker-Finn, would you mind walking through the funding differences between the recommended and the actual amounts appropriated for cybersecurity for the courts?
Chair Becker-Finn, would you like to do that, or you want fiscal staff?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm assuming you mean just line 7 on the one-time request from the courts regarding cybersecurity.
Madam Chair, yes. Madam Chair, yes, that's correct.
Okay. Chair Becker-Finn.
So let's see, on line 7, thank you, Madam Chair. We did not fully fund their request on that, but we're able to do a little, to do half of what they asked for on that.
Representative Nash.
Yeah, and thank you, Madam Chair. And just to, it would not be the legislature if Nash didn't talk about cybersecurity, but so you're not fully funding cybersecurity, but you're growing the number of employees, even if it's just a little bit here and there. Those employees are going to be creating data. Data needs to be taken seriously and guarded. I find it troubling that effectively we're creating more data and it's a liability. And underfunding cybersecurity is going to have a pernicious effect. So I would actually ask if you were to find a way to actually go back and fully fund the cybersecurity spend. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Nash. Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just wanted to kind of walk through some of my concerns with the bill and some of the good stuff too. And before we get started with that, I just wanted to ask the chair, and I know we have Chair Liebling on here too, and it's regarding the funding for House File 312, and that's the appointed counsel in child protection cases. And there's a fiscal note on that of $520,000 in both 22 and 23. And I don't see a line item for that, Madam Chair. And I don't know if that's an oversight or if it's in the HHS bill. I haven't seen it there either, but I would ask the chair to address that funding mechanism or that funding if I could, Madam Chair.
Chair Becker-Finn.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the question, Representative Scott. So we had made the request that funding be made in the Human Services budget. It did not make it into the budget. I do want to clarify, though, that the funding, so originally the request was for funding to help reimburse counties who are not already paying for this. I do want to give credit to the counties who are already finding a way to pay for this. When we had amended it in Human Services, we had gotten that cost down a little bit by instead funding 2 positions within DHS to help counties with figuring out the ability to get reimbursed through the federal 4E funds, which is something that is relatively new, was not an option up until relatively recently. And we have seen Hennepin County has been able to figure that out and has been reimbursed $1 million already. And so that had been the path we were hoping to take with this. I'm holding the right to counsel is in the judiciary bill, but because it's a DHS issue, that piece we were trying to get funded in the Human Services budget.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I understand it was appropriation, not a line item, but it does concern me for those smaller counties. Hopefully they're able to get that federal funding, but if they're not, it's an unfunded mandate, and so that part of the bill, troubles me. It's a wonderful goal, and I fully support what it's trying to do. I just want to make sure that we're not passing along an unfunded mandate to the counties that this year, maybe the counties have the money to do that, but this is putting money to the base for them, or this is putting a mandate to them that's going to have to be funded through, perpetuity. And I just want to make sure that the funds are there. And so members, I would just like to go through a few of the high points of the bill as far as from a GOP perspective. And I think we can all bipartisanly agree that it's a positive that we're having the forfeiture compromise finally coming forward. I know it didn't go far enough for some members, but as they say around here, usually a good test of a bill is when nobody gets exactly what they want. So I look forward to that going forward, and the impact that that's going to have on many people's lives. Some of the other positives, of course, is the data practices piece and adding back the commission on legislative commission on data practices. We could probably spend just have a full committee actually on data practices with all the issues that there are concerning data right now. And one of the concerns I have also in this bill is there's a bill that has to do with law enforcement getting people's mental health data when they encounter those folks, and then the sharing back and forth of that data with DHS. And I feel like we never really resolved getting the proper protections for people whose information is flowing back and forth that is in the hands of law enforcement, and how this data could basically build a kind of a profile, a mental health profile on people, and they're not really, I feel like their rights aren't being protected. We had issues, the jailhouse witness testimony piece is a good piece. We do have issues with the database being controlled by the Attorney General. the housing discrimination protections for people on public assistance as a landlord and a property owner. I feel like that ties the hands of landlords and forces them to do something with their own property that may go against their will, and it goes against property rights. Of course, on the salary ban, we had quite a discussion on that on the floor about the rebuttable presumption, and I think the bill works fine without the rebuttable presumption. And I know there's a difference of opinion there, but I hope that the Senate, perhaps in conference committee, that can be worked out, because I think that is a piece of legislation that needs to go forward. We need equal pay for equal work, and without that presumption, I think that's something that most people could support. We already talked about the removal of the limitation of the statute of limitations on some on the law enforcement sexual misconduct. And members, I also want to say that I feel like, for the most part, Representative Becker-Finn read a fair committee. Sometimes I don't think we had, as much discussion as we would have liked, but I feel like she communicated well, and her staff was very professional. And so, members, there's the good and the bad in this bill, and I know that we're going to lay this over, but if we were taking a voice vote on it, I would encourage my members to vote no, because there are some issues in there that are problematic, but there are some really good things in there too. With that, Madam Chair, I would end my comment.
All right. Is there any further discussion to the bill? So seeing none, I want to thank Chair Becker-Finn for your work to help create a judicial system that is accessible, that is fair for all Minnesotans. And would just like to offer you the last words.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Scott, for your comments as well. I think we were able to run a very respectful committee together, even when there were disagreements. I do want to point out, as to the issue of parent representation, it's an incredibly important issue, and I think there's agreement across the board that we need to get there, and we need to be able, a parent should not be at higher risk of losing their rights to parent their child simply because they don't have the means to pay for a private attorney. I think we all agree on that. And I think long term, we will need to look at setting up an office of parent representation. The biggest hurdle with that issue is that there really isn't a good place to house that bill for who would oversee the dollars to fund those attorneys. And so I think that is long term what we're all going to have to work together to do. And ultimately that's to protect the kids and make sure that kids are not being separated from their parents unnecessarily. It's representation for parents, but really it's about making sure that kids are protected and doing well. Overall, again, this is a good bill that's going to do a lot of good for a lot of Minnesotans, and appreciate the discussion today and member support. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So there being no further discussion, the chair will lay over House File 1030 as amended. Thank you, Chair Becker-Finn. All right, so we're going to move on into House File 1078, which is Chair Mariani, Public Safety Omnibus. This will be our last bill for this omnibus today. It's House File 1078. And 1078 was served as the vehicle bill. Chair Mariani, would you like to move that House File 1078 be recommended for placement on the General Register, and tell us about your budget?
Madam Chair, that would be my motion. And I'll walk through this as efficiently as I can. I do have an author's amendment. I can either add it now or add it later, whatever the chair's desire would be.
So if you can just walk through your bill now, we will go back after that presentation to add the amendments.
Very well. Madam Chair, it's my pleasure to present to this committee the Public Safety Criminal Justice Reform Omnibus Finance Bill. I'm really proud of this bill. And I'm also thankful for the committee members who spent long hours and strong debate over the last few months to shape what's before you today. In addition to myself, there are 3 Ways and Means members who serve on the committee. Our minority lead is Representative Johnson. Representative O'Neill also serves on the committee, as does Chair Pinto. The bill, in a nutshell, is guided by several really important values. One is to make sure that we provide the resources that maintain a strong system of public safety and corrections in our state. We recognize this is a core government duty and responsibility, and every single member on this committee takes that expectation quite seriously. The bill is also guided by the need to advance racial equity in our state. It's also informed by the fact that we're a really big state. We are a geographically large state with huge differences that are quite important. And so regional equity also becomes a really important value for us. It's also guided by the need to constantly push for reform of all of our systems to make better what we do, to raise the quality of what we do, and probably even more importantly, to maintain the trust that our residents, our citizens really need to have in our public safety and corrections systems in order for those systems to be effective. It's also guided by building, and related to that, building strong community connections so that as we provide for public safety and corrections work in our state, we do that through a number of different ways, including making sure that communities and citizens have opportunities to be involved in advancing public safety in our corrections system. You know, I know these aren't words that we often use at the legislature, but I think in this moment in time, it's really important to say this because unfortunately, you know, one of the things that I believe gets conjured up when we talk about public safety is, you know, tends to be on the negative. You know, it's one of those areas where some of our longstanding divisions as a society get exacerbated and in many ways kind of get projected onto it. And yet I cannot think of a single person, I don't care where they live in the state, what race or what age, what demographic group or ideological belief that they have, who don't value public safety, who don't value a human-centered correction system that makes sure that those who have done wrong are separated from society to prevent more harm, and preferably in such a way that they get themselves together and they re-enter and become productive citizens. I just don't know anyone who doesn't believe in that fundamental thing. And so the words I want to throw out there, you know, is that this bill is really guided by important core concepts of care, of belief in one another, and frankly, of loving one another. The bill, as I mentioned, meets, I'm pleased to report that the bill meets the budget target that was set forward. Fiscal staff can walk through the spreadsheet and give us those bottom line numbers. The bill meets, as I said earlier, our duty to fulfill a core function of government, which is to provide for the public safety. It makes appropriations with corresponding policy directives to grow our competency and effectiveness in the interrelated areas of law enforcement, investigations, crime prevention, support for victims, corrections, which include facilities management, safety, probation, and community supervision, community involvement and healing, professional licensing quality, emergency management, first responder systems, fire safety. We cover a big waterfront. And if you look at our committee schedule, in our committee times, you can see that this is one of the hardest working, committee, I would argue, in the legislature. The issues we legislate and oversee within all of those are really numerous. They range from sex trafficking to school safety, from juvenile justice to police training for mental health responses, from emergency communications to railroad pipeline safety, from community-based crime prevention to prison safety. Our committee hearings involve some of the most heart-rending sharing of loss and pain and hope and human dignity that I've been privileged to sit in on and participate in my many years here in the legislature. It's not unusual for our hearing for all our members, regardless of ideology or whether they support the bill in front of us or not, to walk away deeply affected by these stories of pain, loss, and hope that our citizenry shares with us every year. The bill makes appropriation for the Department of Public Safety. That includes the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, Homeland Security and Emergency Management, our Fire Marshal, our Gambling and Alcohol Enforcement, our Office of Justice Program with its extensive grant programs, and our Emergency Communications Network. The bill also appropriates to the Peace Officers Standing and Training Board, commonly referred to as POST, where much of the training and all of the licensing for peace officers in Minnesota resides, to the Minnesota Sentencing Guidelines Commission, to the Private Detective Board, to the Ombudsperson for Corrections, and also for the Department of Corrections, one of our largest state agencies that operates 14 security facilities throughout the state and provides and coordinates probation and community service supervision services, often with county-based programs, so with strong partnership with local officials. Some of the new appropriations, I'll just highlight some quickly, and then we'll move to the spreadsheet, are things like emergency readiness grants to enhance coordination among local emergency management agencies. This is a real big deal in many of our sparsely populated counties across the state, where the capacity to respond to natural emergencies are limited by the sparse population and tax base that exists out there. All of you know that there are shifts happening right now in our climate patterns that are creating all sorts of new challenges for these emergency responses. There's survivor support grants appropriation, much of it that builds on the governor's proposals, and much of it which really focuses on breaking cycles of violence. There's also the governor's innovation in public safety, part of which is meant to lower the possibilities of deadly encounters between citizens and many of our law enforcement officers. There's a missing and murdered Indigenous relatives new initiative to establish that after a 2-year study. There's a combating sex trafficking initiative, youth intervention programs, increasing our investments in that. There's a small, but I think very important racially diverse youth grants program targeted for Greater Minnesota specifically. There's a new initiative for body camera grant program. This is a recommendation of the Working Group on Deadly Force Encounters of the Department of Public Safety and the Attorney General's office from 2 years ago. And we as a state have kind of blanched a little bit about making that investment because it's a big ticket, but it's really important to do. And it's one of those areas where law enforcement and community groups actually agree that having that evidence before us can provide both ways for peace officers to validate their actions, and also ways for community activists to point out where invalid actions have happened. That program is particularly skewed towards Greater Minnesota through the funding, or rather the formula mechanism, where we prioritize departments that have as yet to have a body camera program. Everyone is eligible for it. It's not a mandate. It's a grant program that all law enforcement entities can apply for. But because of the priority for departments that don't have them, which are primarily going to be, in our smaller departments that have smaller tax base capacity, that's really going to skew out that way. Right now, currently, most of the body camera use is heavily found in the Twin Cities metro area. There's a opioid epidemic response grant program that's kind of been going to sleep because the funds for that have diminished as part of, and that was an initiative recently, a couple of years ago, when as part of the settlement with the pharmaceuticals. Senator Rosen and Representative Sandstein were highly effective in creating a way in which we can get opioid treatment out to people addicted in our state. This particular language before you focuses exclusively on Greater Minnesota grants because of the rash of the epidemic in terms of opioid use, particularly with the incredibly deadly substance of fentanyl. Of that really being disproportionately present in Greater Minnesota. There is the Governor's Minnesota Heals program, which has multiple parts, which seeks to provide assistance to communities that have been traumatized by crime and by large events that has exacerbated crimes committed in those communities. There's a extension of the police training program. We currently provide $6 million a year, much of it through the fund that was created after the killing of Philando Castile. We extend that training out for another year. That was sunsetted from the very beginning. And that comes at a cost of $6 million. There's the indexing of police training funds. Those were never tied to, any kind of cost of living or recognition of inflation, negative impact on those appropriations. And so we do index those funds. There are grants for police policy update work. Again, not a mandate, but grant programs for chiefs and sheriffs to be able to access assistance as they update their policies as captured in their formal policy manuals. There's the Healthy Start Act for incarcerated expectant mothers. I believe Chair Becker-Finn carries that particular provision. There are a number of studies in the bill, including one for aiding and abetting, where we've got, I would argue, a huge disparate, unfair outcome, where if a person is found to have participated in horrific crimes, but they themselves were tangential to those crimes, we actually have cases where people who have pulled the trigger are pulling less time than the person who was outside, didn't know what was going on, and was sitting behind the wheel of a car, or we're coerced. Typically, these are young women coerced into being part of that situation. It's too early to act on it, but we do want to study that issue. There's a study on police liability insurance. Virtually every other profession carries liability insurance. The initial proposal was to require this. I believe we wisely said, look, we have a lot of questions. Let's put together a group and let's carefully, walk through that. There are law enforcement salary increases in this bill for those management state law enforcement officials that we missed in the big adjustment last year. The amendment later on is going to bring in the Hometown Heroes Act, which provides firefighter or support for firefighters who suffer disproportionately from a number of acute symptoms as part of their work. Most of these men and women across the state are actually volunteers. They face cancer rates, heart disease rates, suicide rates, and suffer trauma, PTSD at rates way higher than the rest of the population. And then finally, in light of the historic moment that Minnesota finds itself with the recent police shooting and killing of a young African-American citizen, while simultaneously undertaking the murder trial of a former police officer who was licensed by the state of Minnesota, as are all peace officers, for the killing of another Black man and citizen, I would be remiss in not sharing that there are several simple but very powerful policy provisions that lie at the center of this big, important bill that provides directives to our Department of Public Safety, our Department of Corrections, and all the other agencies I mentioned to protect the human rights of all Minnesotans and to carry out their responsibilities in such a way that promotes human dignity and respect. And that is a broad language of expectation. So we define public safety and corrections in that way. There are smaller provisions that are very important, like the ban on white supremacy affiliation for licensed peace officers in our state. The state can set those conditions. It is not a person's right to be a peace officer. That's a privilege that one earns through the development of skill that meet the licensing standards established by, in this case, our post board. White supremacist groups have for over a decade been identified by the FBI as the single most violent, dangerous threat to our democracy. There's strong documentations of infiltration of those organized groups into law enforcement across the country, as well as into our armed services, so much so that the president specifically mentioned it in his inaugural speech, as did the Secretary of Defense, a retired four-star general. And so there's language here that would prohibit the affiliation of our peace officers with groups that seek racial harm, and specifically names white supremacist groups, just as the FBI has long named those. This is the nature of our work nowadays. And if we pay attention to these issues, I believe it'll go a long way to building that incredible trust, not incredible, that vital trust that we need to have. I think this bill and its appropriations, finds all sorts of ways, to do that. And so I'm really proud of the bill. And Madam Chair, perhaps it might be good to have in the few minutes before we break, unless you want to do it when we come back, our staff walk through the spreadsheet as the next step.
Yes, we have about 16 minutes before we would need to recess. So why don't we get fiscal staff walk through the spreadsheets?
Madam Chair, John Walls, House Fiscal Staff. And is the spreadsheet going to be shared on screen?
Madam Chair, just one moment. I'll have that up. If Mr. Walls wants to start.
Okay, give us a moment, Mr. Walls. Are you able to see that, Mr. Walls?
Yes, I can, Madam Chair. And in the interest of time, I'll just try to highlight, I will say that we included most items in the governor's budget, and I will just try to highlight where the House bill differs from governor's requests.
Okay.
And so, Madam Chair, on beginning on the first page under sentencing guidelines on line 6, the House includes the requests from the governor's budget, but on line 6, includes $172,000 so that the Sentencing Guidelines Commission can compile and report on probation data. That's a provision in House File 1374. Moving down to the Department of Public Safety on line 12 in the Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, we include the governor's request for operating adjustments and school safety, but we also include on line 18, House File 499, $6 million for emergency readiness grants. And on line 19, House File 28, an Alzheimer's alert, and this is to develop an alert system to find people who have gone missing who are suffering from cognitive decline. Moving to the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension on line 26, we include the governor's request for civil unrest, for an operating adjustment, for body cameras for BCA personnel. The House does not fund the request for the Criminal Information Operations Center build-out, and there is a slight reduction in the funding for cybersecurity compliance. We include the Rapid DNA program request. We also include on line 37, House File 295, requires the BCA to conduct sexual assault investigations that happen at the Minnesota National Guard. On line 38, House File 707, this was mentioned previously in the hearing, is a work group, and that comes out of House File 707. It's for a sex offenses work group, and that's $131,000. On line 39, we include House File 1152, the Clean Slate Act, and this is has to do with record keeping for expungements. It's roughly a $1.25 million, a one-time cost in fiscal 2022. On line 40, we include House File 401. It is a salary increase for law enforcement personnel, and there is some dollars in the current fiscal year 2021 included for that as well. On line 41, we include House File 41, Essential Workers Emergency Leave, and there's $183,000 in fiscal 21 for that provision. On line 42, we include the drug driving lab support. These are trunk highway funds. They were included in the governor's request. And on line 43, these are the law enforcement salary increases that would come from the opioid fund. Madam Chair, moving to page 2, we included the governor's request for the fire marshal, which includes an operating increase of $920,000. The Board of Firefighter Training is also at the governor's request level, which included an increase for Minnesota Task Force 1, air rescue, and firefighter training. That adds an additional $1,554,000 for the biennium. Under the Office of Gambling and Alcohol Enforcement, beginning on line 70, we include the governor's requests for operating adjustment, legal costs, civil unrest response, and body cameras. And we add on line 78 some money for law enforcement salary increases. Moving to page 3 in the Office of Justice Programs, we include the governor's request on line 91 for an operating adjustment. On lines 92 through 94, the governor had requested 3 new categories of grants funded at $1.4 million per year. The House bill funds those at $500,000 per year. On line 95, the governor had a one-time request for $10 million for survivor support grants. The House includes $12 million in the biennium, but also includes ongoing money of $1.5 million per year beginning in 2024. On line 96, the governor had requested money for a juvenile justice unit within the Department of Public Safety. That was not included in the House bill. On line 97, the governor had included $7 million for innovation and public safety grants. The House includes $10 million. On line 98, we have an establishment of an office for missing and murdered Indigenous women at $500,000 a year. On line 99, the governor had asked for $2.5 million in combating sex trafficking grants, and the House includes $1 million per year, but that funding is not one time as the governor has proposed. It is ongoing. On line 100, there's an increase of $500,000 per year for youth intervention. On line 101, we have the inclusion of House File 1309. These are grants for youth programs that serve racially diverse youth. That is $150,000 per year. On line 102, we include House File 952, and I believe this is a working group that would look at missing and murdered African women, African-American women. On line 103, we include prosecutor and law enforcement training at $25,000 per year. On line 104, a study to look into police officers requiring personal liability insurance. On line 105, we have a $1 million per year grant program established to help local law enforcement units purchase body cameras. And on line 106, we include $500,000 to help local law enforcement with the opioid epidemic and grants that will help combat that. On line 112, we go to emergency communications networks. We are at the governor's level for the expenditure reduction due to a drop in the fee. Madam Chair, I believe I misspoke. There's going to be there's a change on that in the bill that extends that fee and gives the money to local communities to work on their emergency communications infrastructure. On line 116, we include $9,000 from House File 515. This is for a telecommunications working group. Madam Chair, on line 120, the House includes a provision for ignition interlock and funds $465,000 from the driver services account in fiscal 2022. Madam Chair, that would move us to the top of page 4, the post board. We include the governor's requests for an operating adjustment for IT costs and to obtain human resource services. We also include the request for increased staffing, but the House adds on line 142, extending training reimbursements in fiscal 2024 at $6 million. On line 143, there's indexing a certain portion of the training reimbursement grants to inflation. And on line 144, House File 730, there's grants for policy and training to local law enforcement agencies to use best practices. That is $1 million per year. Madam Chair, moving down to the Private Detectives Board, we include the governor's request for an operating adjustment of $16,000 for the biennium. Moving down to the Department of Corrections, in the area of institutions, we include the governor's request for an operating adjustment and the Healthy Start Act. We also include transferring the Ombudsman for Corrections to be its own standalone agency, and include the governor's request for an operating reduction and prison population reduction on lines 167 and 168. Madam Chair, the next several lines will be bed impacts of bills that were included in the bill. On line House File 478, veteran sentencing, it provides a bed savings of $228,000 beginning in 2023 and then increasing from then on. On line 613, increasing the penalty for human trafficking. There's a slight bed impact increase from that bill. On line 171, House File 1121, removing the statute of limitations on sex offenses, and the bed impact is carried there. On line 172, we provide funding for House File 553. This had to do with corrections ID cards, but this cost carried on this line is to provide 1 month worth of prescriptions when inmates leave incarceration. On line 173, House File 707, which has been talked about in this hearing, there is an increased bed impact for sentencing certain sex offenses. And on line 174, we include funding for essential workers emergency leave. There's a fiscal impact in fiscal 2021 as well as fiscal 2022. And on line 175, we create a juvenile review board at $50,000 per year. Madam Chair, that takes us to the top of page 5 in community services. We include the operating adjustment, some additional money for juvenile justice data. We include safety enhancements at DOC licensed facilities. There is the request by the agency for the operating reduction and the governor's request for one-time grants to counties for probation costs. There is a technical change for how probation services are funded at Meeker, Renville, and Mille Lacs County. That was a governor's request. And now we go to member included bills on line 190, House File 1097, alternatives to incarceration grants at $320,000 per year. On line 191, we have House File 1162, the aiding and abetting felony murder task force at $25,000. On line 192, we have House File 218, employment grants at $300,000 on a one-time basis. On line 193, we have the House File 553, the corrections ID card at $63,000 for the biennium. On line 194, House File 167, pre-sentence investigation task force, $15,000. On line 195, House File 401, law enforcement salary increases. On line 196, House File 416, a juvenile justice report at $64,000 for the biennium. Madam Chair, beginning on line 200, operations support within the Department of Corrections, we funded their operating adjustment, their information technology request, their indeterminate sentence release board, their operating reduction, and we included, this was a member bill, the House file number escapes me, but it was for a facilities security audit, and that would cost $135,000 in the biennium. Madam Chair, moving down to line 214, we have some court costs. There's an appropriation to the Supreme Court, and this is due to House File 1152, the Clean Slate Act. This would hire temporary court personnel to deal with a wave of expungements created by House File 1152. On line 2018, there is some additional public defender training money at $25,000 a year for 2 years. And Madam Chair, on line 221 is the funding for the Ombudsman for Corrections, and that is being taken out of the Department of Corrections and made their own standalone agency. Madam Chair, on line 227, there's the transfer to the juvenile justice account, and on line 230, the totals for the expenditures in the bill. On line 240, there is a transfer from the MinCor account so that the bill may balance to the target. And Madam Chair, on line 253, there's some other changes that have to do with funds outside of the general fund. There's a hazardous materials response. There's a railroad and pipeline safety assessment that's extended and raises $2.5 million per year, and a 2 a.m. permit fee revenue loss that was part of the governor's budget. And Madam Chair, that completes the walkthrough of the spreadsheet.
All right, thank you, Mr. Walls. So with that, members, we are going to go into recess into the call of the chair around 1 o'clock. And we're going to go into session. Thank you so much, and we'll see you back soon.